and they attempt to make an attack. And then, of course, I'm listening to the radio because I happen to be working at the commercial fire up there. And the next thing that comes out is we're pulling everybody out, the fire's out of control. So at that time, we decided to go ahead and release one of our trucks since we were almost at the end of our fire. And it took our guys to get there to put the fire out. This is probably 45 minutes to an hour after the fact. I have nothing against volunteer firefighters, okay? They do the best that they can. However, they're not like us professional firefighters. Right. We go in there. That means we go in the attic, we go in the attic. These guys are not. And again, I have nothing personal against them because they do help us in many cases. But they're there and they basically, in so many aspects, do defensive firefighting. We don't. We go in there, we attack the fire because every home that we have out there pays taxes here. And our job is to try to save every occupied dwelling. That's why in a city like Flint, it will not work to have volunteer firefighters.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. To the administration, healthcare. What is healthcare projected at for the next fiscal budget year? Did I hear a number of 26 million or something?
For retirees.
That may have been a total kind of legacy and healthcare cost total.
I don't believe so.
And I can tell you this year, active employees healthcare is approximately 10 million across all funds. So
Now
it's going to be up some, some percentage from that. It's going to be 10.5 or 10.8.
Okay, and healthcare is steadily going up. So do we
about
have
10% a year.
some type of plan that we can look at, maybe partnering with the county and under a new healthcare provider that can still give us a cat-like service that we look at?
Well, the main thing we've discussed, and again, I don't want to go into details, but in all of our conversations around the contracts, we've discussed a variety of different ways that employees could make a contribution, a higher contribution towards their costs, or potentially use less expensive, total plan. So I mean, that has been a fairly productive point of conversation.
Okay, good. But could maybe you could get a different carrier that could give you a lesser rate?
Right. That's part of it.
But is that part of your...
Right, potentially, even within a Blue Cross Blue Shield, if you have a traditional Blue Cross Blue Shield versus a community blue versus,
right.
You can change, you can lower that overall cost. But again, those are things without any details. I can tell you we've had pretty productive conversations.
But you do have something in the works
around contribution levels or cost of plans. I think you spoke with others privately. They confirmed we've had discussions about that.
Okay. My last question is the garbage problem. Okay, I can only speak for my ward. I've had calls, and one was from a handicapped individual that has another handicapped lady that lives in the house, and they have someone put their garbage out for them. I gave them your phone number, and I also gave them Don Jones's phone number. They went online to see when their garbage was supposed to be picked up. And they're not the only one that told me when they went online that they were listed as red, but Ward 2 is actually blue. So they had their garbage put out, and there was no one, because they couldn't get it out anyway. They had to get someone to get it out. They come by once a week to put it out, and they had nobody to get it back for them. So that's why they got but can we check online to make sure that that is tallying with our brochures? And then also in the second ward, a lot of my constituents that have been in their homes for 30 and 35 and 40 years never got a brochure. And these were some of my neighbors that live on my street. And so yesterday, as I was leaving church, I just stopped by a lot of homes, and they didn't get these brochures, they hit their garbage. So I tooted the horn to let them know that it's not your day. And then we still got a lot sitting out there, so I know a lot of people are gonna probably think the garbage is either running late because they didn't, how many brochures did you guys send out? One to every home in the city of Flint, or just randomly, random homes?
There, with this many, there's always you know, a few that go wrong, but it was over 40,000 went out, and it was all data, all addresses from water bills, property taxes. I mean, it was a unified database. But yeah,
I mean, I had a real problem when I went to a home that the Thrakels, they've been there over 30-some years, and they didn't receive anything. But we need to check that, especially if it's online and then people. Okay.
If there's a mistake in a boundary that was drawn, you know, a block or two off, then we may not have caught it in the testing, so we'll go in and check on that area for you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Nolan.
Yeah, mine's related to the sanitation pickup as well. I know we're going to the bi-monthly pickup, bi-weekly pickup, I mean. And my concern is it's going to be twice as much garbage, you know, when they come to pick it up. So that means they're going to be going to the dump twice. So I don't understand where we're going to be seeing the savings at if you're going to have twice as much garbage and you're going to have to go to the dump, you know, 2 times a day. It seems kind of strange, and I don't understand where the savings is going to be. You know, where we're going to really see a big savings with it with that. Secondly, I'm speaking from my ward has a lot of vacant and blighted area, and we're already seeing illegal dumping. I was on Myrtle Street on yesterday, 814 Myrtle, and a lady called me. And last week I was on the street, and I rolled past the same house because I want to get them boarded up, and it was clean. I went by yesterday. It must have been 40 tires there. So what do we have in place? I know we've had neighborhood cleanups. I want to know what are we going to be able to do in terms of people that are interested in doing the neighborhood cleanups. Are we going to be able to have the sanitation workers be able to come out and do the neighborhood cleanups on Saturday? Are we going to have money budgeted for that? Because I've had some constituents call me already to ask me about that. So those are 2 of my biggest concerns. You know, it's going to be twice as much garbage. They're going to have to go to the dump twice as many times. And to me, it just seemed like it's still going to be the same identical thing. It's just that we're breaking it up. So.
Well, you did hit on an important point, Councilman, about the savings. It's not a the savings is not a 50% savings. So it's not like you go from a certain amount and then you pick it up every other week. So then it reduces, you know, by 50% because we still expect to dump at the landfill approximately the same amount of trash. There's some research that would suggest that when you go to an every other week cleanup, people will become a little more proactive with recycling, with reuse, and you won't quite pick up quite as much as you did when you did it every week. But you still have to drive the trucks, you still have to drive out to the dump. So that's why, you know, that budget is more than $4 million. We projected this adjustment would be about $1 million in savings.